Should South Korea respond positively to that, what seemed like an opening of talks from North Korea? And would talks like those, could they serve as an opening for the United States to interact with North Korea on the nuclear issue?
I think from Kim Jong Un's statements, we can see that these are two different messages. One to South Korea, one to the United States on the nuclear. I don't know if South Korea should respond favorably, but I think South Korea is very likely to do so. The government in South Korea is interested in lowering the tensions and getting into some kind of positive dynamic with North Korea. So it could be an opening that they would go for. North Korea perhaps might be expecting some kind of economic assistance in return for that. But on the other hand, we have the very different message to the United States.
We hear North Korea saying pretty clearly, we need nuclear weapons to protect ourselves from a hostile Washington. When you have a president who might not be hostile, but he's certainly delivering threats as well via Twitter or some other routes, how do you think that affects a regime like North Korea and its decision to take it a step further?
Well, I think it's very interesting. The statement that was made is actually a deterrent statement. And I think it's the first time that we heard Kim Jong Un say very clearly that, yes, the button is here. Yes, I'm in control of the button, but it's only if the United States threatens war. So it's a deterrent message to the United States, and it fits into the dynamic that I've been talking about for months, that what we're seeing is the two sides entering into a new deterrence dynamic. So we've had the threats, the deterrent threats from the U.S. administration, and this is a response from North Korea.
How long can a dynamic like that, a deterrent dynamic with so much at stake, actually hold?
It can hold for a long time until they go into a new dynamic of perhaps tension reduction. It held for a long time in the Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union. Obviously, we have two very different actors. Right. Their nuclear capabilities are not symmetrical by any means, but the deterrence relationship, I think that's where we're going. Denuclearization is not on the table, and so there's really only one direction other than actual war, which I don't think the United States is interested in, and certainly North Korea should not be interested in.
Emily, a rare display of reticence from President Trump there on his way to the New Year's Eve party when he was asked about it, and subsequently since then. What kind of message on North Korea? What should be President Trump's next message about North Korea?
I think it's good that we haven't heard more than what we heard from Trump.
The day is still young.
The day is still young, but again, I think this is part of this new deterrence relationship that is emerging. Nothing has really changed substantively vis-a-vis the United States. There's no need for a response. The deterrent threat of the United States has been very clearly delivered to North Korea already, and it's entering this new stage.
When we hear the threats, whether it's at the UN or from the United States about North Korea, a listener who's not familiar with the details might think that North Korea is not yet a nuclear state. Do you think that, especially coming from your expertise on arms control, that there is a misunderstanding to some degree of just how far North Korea has come?
Well, of course, he presented a threat that most experts don't believe exists yet. He can't send nuclear-tipped missiles to every place in the United States. But what he did demonstrate last July is that he has the missile capability to reach. The next hurdle, technical hurdle, is to marry a nuclear warhead to that missile. But otherwise, yes, North Korea is a nuclear state. It has the ability to threaten its immediate neighbors with nuclear attack, and it is striving to be able to do a similar threat to the United States.
Emily, with the recent interdiction of oil supplies obviously being smuggled into North Korea, clearly they are in need of that. Is there not a danger that if the sanctions bite too deep in North Korea, especially on energy, that may provoke them into some kind of provocative action to break that stalemate? Look at what happened with Japan. Of course, that's what set off World War II.
Well, that's why I said, interestingly enough, and I'm not sure, it's very early, he just made the statement, but the statement directed to South Korea could actually be in that direction. In other words, yes, the new sanctions, the sanctions are hurting. They need economic assistance, and perhaps the expectation is that something will come because of this opening to South Korea with regard to the Olympics and the rest of that.
Potentially the regime looking for a way
Yes,
out.
because South Korea can help North Korea economically also, and there are ways to circumvent the sanctions.